Nathan, welcome, man.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for having me.
Took some traffic to get here, right?
Yeah.
The organised chaos of Bali.
I said I was going to be 10 minutes early. I ended up being 10 minutes late.
I walked down, I'm like, where is this guy?
I'm like in the midst of it all, eh?
What brought you here to Bali, man? It's a big, we were speaking before, like growing up in Australia to then pick up your life and move over here to beautiful Bali. Like, what's the mindset of someone to go, you know what? In a way, you're burning the boats and you're just going to move everything over here.
Yeah, for sure. I think from like a young age, I've kind of been into, when I say young age, late teens, been into kind of health and fitness. And I've just kind of seen how, the direction the system kind of wants you to be in. And, I've worked with real estate agents and all of that in the past that are like really, really stressed and they're just in the system. And it kind of planted the seed in those years that I didn't really want to end up like that. And then as I got older, I got more into health and got more in the I guess, understanding how everything works. And we made a decision kind of late last year that I wanted to get out. And Bali's obviously a beautiful place. It's, very relaxed, very chilled. Everyone's kind of very welcoming and decided to kind of go for it.
Get out of the rat race, bro.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
For people who don't know who you are, because as I was speaking to you before, you jump on social media and people are posting the highlight reels essentially, right?
Yep.
No one's really showing who they truly are. And the whole point of this podcast is to go beneath the surface, have those deep conversations, get to know who you are on a human level, right? Yes, business, health and fitness is a big part of your life, but there's so much more to who Nathan Rance is.
Yep.
So for myself, for the listener, what is the context that we need to know about you to better understand the man that sits in front of us today?
That's a good question. So I grew up in Sydney, went to a private school. My parents broke up when I was 10 or 12 years old. And it was pretty shitty because I had to move out of the private school and go into like a public school. And it was a quick change. I was halfway through year 8. I was a little bit of a chubby kid and used to get teased a bit there. So I guess that's what kind of pushed me into the direction of fitness. But I lived in the hills. So like, Kellyville, Castle Hill, Rouse Hill. Went to school there, went to school at Rouse Hill Public. And basically I was a bit of a menace in school. I was like getting suspended, expelled, because when my parents broke up, my mum kind of went down this like loophole and she got like pretty bad with mental health and struggled with like the breakup. So I was the only boy at the time. So I kind of had to step up and look after her. And there was a bit of a rocky roller coaster there for, 5 or 10 years. And I guess it kind of shaped me and it made me want to live as like a certain person. And then kind of getting into health and fitness stuff, my dad, he's a real estate agent in Sydney, really successful one, has his own kind of business company, but would always have the mindset, would always have the mentality that he would, get into health and fitness or, start looking after himself come Monday. And, that Monday obviously never came around. And this was when I was before the breakup, this was when I was 6 years old. And now I'm 28, so 22 years. And that Monday never kind of came around. And I saw like the relationship that he had with my mom. I saw the relationship that he had with us kids. And like, I'm not dissing him. He's a great dad. He's a provider and all that kind of stuff. But the emotional kind of connection there, I felt like it was missing. And I was like, this is something that I need to be better at. And this is something that I want to give my kids the experience that I'm going to be emotionally there. And I guess one thing kind of affects everything. So like, how you perceive yourself in the emotional standpoints, how you perceive yourself in a health standpoint, and it just kind of manifests. So that's what kind of pushed me in the direction of becoming better and leveling up me, my mindset, my health, my physique, and wanting to go to what I am now.
Was there a level of, anger and resentment, your parents splitting, you basically having to step up, be the man of the house and be there for your mum while she was struggling?
Yep.
And then your dad's out there, building businesses, providing for the family, but he's not really present in your life.
Yep.
Was there a lot of anger and resent as a young kid?
I think maybe built up, like even like thinking back now, I don't know if there was like a lot of anger, maybe like a little bit of like felt disappointed as if like us kids were just kind of put on the back burner just because my parents didn't like not had their shit together, but like sorted out themselves. And I just think that like so many people are like almost having kids and not actually understanding or realizing that once you have kids, you've got a responsibility and you actually have to like taking into account like their feelings, their emotions, and all of these things. And not that my parents were bad parents, my parents were unreal, but like when my parents did break up, you know, my mum, I'll be honest, she like was a pretty bad alcoholic, and we were living with my mum at the time, and yeah, it was really, really bad. And I felt as if I was the only boy, I was the only guy in her life, that I needed to step up. So I needed to be the one that, you know, looked after her, make sure she was all right, and all that kind of stuff. So I think like I put a bit of a brave face on through school, and I pretended that things didn't happen. And that's why I probably was a bit of a failure at school. And that's why I probably got suspended and all that kind of stuff, just because of all the things that were happening in my life at the time. But I do believe that like if those things didn't happen, I wouldn't be the person that I am. I don't think that I would be, you know, even having this outlook on life. I think I would just be like, you know, in the midst of it all, and just kind of just seeing life as what it is, and not going out and attacking it.
What's your relationship like now with your mum? Because in a way, you being the only man in her life after that breakup, did she become quite, I guess, dependent on you for you to be there for her? And it can really hurt that relationship there, because your mum's always there and you want to be your own individual as well, but at the same time you feel like she may be holding you back from going out there and achieving things. How did that mentally affect you?
So it's funny because like even my mum and I's relationship now is like very, very strong. And I think that's because she's got a sense of respect for me at that young age, where I kind of took that step up and was like responsible for what was going on. And we're really tight. She's actually 10 years sober, so she's clean.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so she's clean, which is really, really good. But we have a really unique kind of relationship where I would go to my mum before my dad and tell her everything, and really open up. You know, times in my early 20s, I was getting on the drugs pretty hard, and I would party, and you know what it's like, fucking party till the sun comes up. And then I would have this massive kind of come down, and reality hit me all at once. And the only person I could be really vulnerable and be like, fuck, I messed up, was my mum. And we've still got that kind of relationship. So I think me being here and out of her life, I think she can feel that. I definitely do. And I feel a little bit bad just from my younger years, that like, because I was always there, that now I'm here, it's like a little bit like, fuck, have I let her down a little bit? But in the same token, I feel like this was kind of needed for me, and the step that I wanted to take in my life.
It's hard. Like for me, in my parents' dynamic, it's always been like me and my mum. And yes, my dad's always been there, but I never had a strong relationship with my dad. So I always confided in my mum. I was always there for my mum. There comes a period in your life when you become an adult, you're going down your own path. For me, started my own family. I got a little 2-year-old daughter. So
yeah, cool.
There comes a point where you have to be your own person. And it is hard, especially on them when like you're their baby, right?
Of course.
You're always going to be their baby. But
of course.
Yeah, you got to grow up, and I think it's important for both parties to understand that. Because I've seen time again, you got those 40-year-old guys living in the basement of their mum's house, and they're always there, but they're not men. They're still boys trapped in adult bodies. And it's like, how can you live like that? And I couldn't be a parent and expect that of my child as well. Because I think that's very, very selfish in a way.
I think too, like when it comes to that, it's like you got to take that move, and you got to take that responsibility, and even that risk, like the risk of starting the business, starting the podcast, getting judged, getting hate, like these people that are living in that comfort kind of mindset and that comfort shelter mindset. It's like they're not willing to put themselves out there. They're not willing to put it all on the line. And I think, like you said, like once you get to that age, it's like, well, hang on a second. Like, what am I doing? Like, the way I look at it is like, you live once. Like, I don't want to get to fucking 75, 80 years old when I'm slowing down and be like, did I actually give it 100%, or did I just kind of half-ass it and just drift through the wind like a tumbleweed?
The big thing that comes to me, and Josh Saunders actually instilled this seed within me, was he goes, when your time's all up and done, like what story do you want to share? The one of someone who lived in their comfort zone and really did nothing with their life, or someone who went out there, was faced with adversity, but came out over the top, had a lot of lessons, a lot of growth. That's the story you want to share, right? Not the one of comfortability. Like that's boring. Anyone can go do that, right? But to actually, it's like that hero's journey, going out there, becoming the hero, all the lessons, all the growth, that's what you want to pursue in life.
Yeah.
And it is scary. It is out of your comfort zone.
For sure, bro.
But it's the most fulfilling.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And it gets you up every morning. Like if you're doing stuff like and your balls are on the line and you're like, fuck, I've got to make this work. Like I was telling you before, my missus was a nurse and she loved it. And, she was real like deep in the system, like works for the government, like all that kind of stuff, right? I'm not here to talk about politics, but like in the system. And I'm quite the opposite. Like I see life very different, very holistic, live life on your terms kind of thing. And, over time of us being together, she's my fiance now, she's kind of seen like how I've changed and matured and adopted that kind of that life myself. And she's wants to live it. Like she doesn't want to be trapped in the system. She doesn't want to be a nurse. She doesn't want to do all this shit. And she kind of sees, life how it's actually meant to be lived. And life how it's meant to be lived is, with your family, with friends, living life how you want to live. And unfortunately, if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you're forever going to be in that trap.
Are you a very spiritual or faithful man?
I am spiritual. Like I meditate and I do think there's like a higher power and I do, I am spiritual, but I wouldn't say very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do your meditation, breath work, more so for the mindfulness?
For mindfulness and mindset. Like I'm a big believer in like visualization and like if you want to get to a certain place or direction, you have to kind of manifest it and in your thoughts, your actions, your beliefs, and even just like visualizing it. It's like, that's how I kind of got here to Bali. It's like thought about it. Then I kind of like, I guess I meditated and just like manifested like what it would look like. And then I kind of created it. And then obviously now I'm living it.
Yeah. Let's break that down because the misconception or the idea of manifestation is you just think about it, right? And it's going to appear.
Yep.
For you to get from, Sydney to living in Bali, leaving everything behind, it's a big move. It's a scary move.
Yep.
And for people wanting to, whether that be move to Bali or start a business or just start something, right? Leave their comfort zone.
Yep.
How do we break that down into small actionable steps that people can take to actually manifest or create the life that they actually desire?
That's a good question. The way I look at it is like, what do you want? Like so many people just fucking get pushed towards a direction of not knowing what they want. Whether it's your dad thinks you should go to uni, your mum thinks you should become a police officer, your auntie thinks you should do this, your sisters say don't do that. First of all, it's like, what the fuck do you want? What do you want to achieve? Like, write down all the things that come to front of mind. Like, do you want to live and not trade your time for money? Do you want to live in a different country? Places you want to be, people you want to meet, all of these things. And I guess like once I've got clear on what I want, I then start to put thought and action towards that. So yeah, like you said, let's talk about that. Like me saying I want to move to Bali, then closing my eyes, dreaming about moving to Bali, waking up and I'm here. It doesn't work like that. But what does work is your beliefs around what you want to achieve. So if you think about, I want to move to Bali and I want to, not trade my time for money and I want to take my missus out of work and get her working in the business with me, it's like, okay, well, what do I need to do in order to get there? And if you have that bigger picture, I feel as if the journey kind of doesn't tell you where to go, but it will direct you because you've already got in your, your subconscious mind, the direction that you want to go. And I think that everything is related to your subconscious mind. So like, the way that you perceive yourself, the actions you have, the stories you tell yourself, the belief systems that you're being brought up with as a child is all stemmed from your subconscious mind and what you believe is true. So if you can shift the narrative, like if working 9 to 5 for someone 40 hours a week doesn't suit your lifestyle, then you can change it. But you need to get clear on where you want to go.
The reason I love asking that question is, one, everyone has a different but very similar approach. Mm-hmm. Like all the highly successful people that I speak to, it's very much the same thing. It's like you need to know where you're going and breaking it down into small actionable steps that you can take together. Yes, laying in bed and visualizing is a part of that. But without the action, nothing's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And also, it just goes to show how easy it is to go out there and achieve the things that you want to achieve in life.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, there's your adversities, the ups and downs. that's a part of it. And I think that's what makes life beautiful, right? If it was all sunshine and rainbows and you would achieve everything straight away, it would be boring.
Of course, it needs to be up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I love having these conversations and asking questions like that, because for me, I want to help men be better men by challenging the way that we think, feel, and act. And you mentioned before the way of living in Australia, the societal pressure that's put on people to go to uni, get a job, buy a house, have kids,
Get a mortgage for the rest of your life.
fucking die. And
Doesn't interest me, eh?
Yeah, there's so much more to life than that.
Yeah.
And I was having this conversation the other day, and there's two groups of people that when they get to like 80 years old and they look back in their life, they go, I wish I'd done more, as in I wish I traveled more, I wish I took those risks.
Yeah.
Or there's those people that go, I wish I invested more money, or I built a business or something like that. Because people go to either extreme of, living life on the edge, going to go travel, have all these experiences, and don't invest their money and have no financial backing.
Yeah.
And then there's people that just go all in on financials and don't live life.
Exactly right.
And he goes, you don't have to live on either end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
You can have both.
Yeah.
Yes, you can invest your money, build the business, and still travel a month or two out of the year.
Yeah.
Like everything is possible. It does come down to balance, if you want to say balance, but in a way, it's the guest before Monty said it was very well, like it's harmony. Having that harmony within all these different aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be seasons that we go through where it's a business season.
Yeah.
Or there's a season of family, a season of travel. But if we can ride the waves and have that harmony within all those aspects or all those key areas or values within your life, I think that's where the fulfillment comes from.
Yeah.
If you're going all in 24 hours, 365 days a year on business,
it's gonna you're gonna fizzle out.
You're gonna fizzle out. You're not gonna be happy.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? Especially when kids and families involved. We said before, our time is gonna come to an end.
Yeah.
What's most important is the memories that you create and being present. And I always say, like, my definition of success is doing the things that you love with the people that you enjoy and not having to worry about money as well.
Yeah, I think that's a big one too.
Money's important, makes the world go around, but it's finding that harmony.
It's got to be passion too, right? Like I'm sure you got other viewers and they're all into, self-development and all that kind of stuff. And like, you got to think to yourself, do you want to live someone else's dream? Do you want to work 9 to 5 or fucking 7 to 3 or whatever it is? And do you want to just get by, just have enough to go on a holiday, maybe just once every 2 years, just get enough to, put the money on the house and be stuck in that mortgage for the rest of your life? And if the answer is no, which I'm sure 90 to 95% of listeners, it is no. Like, there's more to life than just fucking getting by. Then, like you said, it's like, what do I want to achieve? And so many people, they've got narrow minds with, like, even when I speak to guys about wanting to lose weight, I just want to lose 5 kilos. Like, they're 110 kilos. I just want to get to 100. What's so good at 100? Why don't you want to get a 6-pack? Why don't you want to look athletic? Why don't you want to turn heads? Like, because our beliefs on what we can achieve is so limited and so shortened. And I think that's because of, the life that we live, the society that we're in. From a young age, we're taught to not work together. We're taught to put our hands up when we speak. We're taught we have to ask to go to the toilet. We can't copy each other's work. We can't actually mend together. You look at the real world, it's the opposite. Everyone like you've invited me to come here and we, connect and we share ideas, and that's how, things manifest and that's how things grow. And I think back to our subconscious mind, I think this is like drilled into our heads that we have to have this scarce mindset. We have to be scared to ask for help, reach out. If you stuff up on your homework, you used to get so self-conscious, or you didn't want to show anyone because you didn't want to be an embarrassment. That's not business. Business, bro, I put up fucking ads or reels or whatever it is, and I just get drilled. But that's part of it. You become custom, you become numb to it, and that's what builds you up. And so many people, they just live life in the comfort zone and they don't take that risk. But I think you have to.
It's that fear of judgment, eh?
It is. And it does happen. Like I had it when I first started business. Like even some of my messaging, which we can talk about the biz a little bit later, but it's like very direct and it's about male empowerment and becoming better, and you've got to be disciplined, and it's up to you to set the standard for the future generations. And if you're fat, you're overweight, you hate yourself, you're self-conscious and all these things, what's that doing to your son? What's that doing to their son? It's up to you, and we've got to be better. And I think that if we're not better, then how the fuck can the world get better? And it's up to men. I don't care what anyone says. You can call me all the names under the sun, but men are the leaders and they're the role models, and everyone looks up to them, and it's up to us.
I agree.
Yeah.
We as men need to take that blunt, that straight, narrow line of fuck, this is what's needed. Because as you said, even when it comes to weight loss, in the Western world, obesity is so high.
It's fucked, bro.
And it's seen as a diet to actually eat healthy.
I know.
It's like, what the fuck? I'm just eating healthy, but that's seen as a diet when it's just normal food.
Yeah.
If we went back 50 years ago, it's like they would look at us and be like, what the hell?
What the fuck are they doing? I know. It's crazy.
Even when we were kids, it was a treat to go have takeaway food.
Yeah.
Now it's become a norm. You just Uber Eats every night for dinner.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, as the parent's responsibility, like I get that life's hard. I get that we're busy. Everyone's got shit that they got to do. Every single person. To me, they're just bullshit excuses. Like you just have to be better. And it's not about being better, about being perfect. It's about making better decisions, making better choices. Because the way that you're doing things, and this is where my messaging comes in, like I'm all about like having discipline in the family environment, and you've got to be better. You're the role model. Everyone's looking up to you. If you're giving into easy gratifications and you're sitting on the couch with your feet up watching Netflix, and you're lazy, you're not exercising, you're eating shit food and Uber Eats, like what's that showing your family? Like that's setting them up with a bad relationship with food. That's setting them up to not be physically, active. That's setting them up with being self-conscious about their body image. Like all of this messaging is affecting not only you, just because you can't be fucked, but it's affecting your kids, your wife, and it affects everything.
I agree with everything you're saying. And environment is so key for us to get our asses off the couches and actually take action. There's also a level of empathy, because everyone comes from a different upbringing. They have their own, I guess, insecurities and triggers and everything like that. And
of course.
And we're not sitting here and putting shit on people. Like we understand everyone has their own shit, but at the same time, you can either play victim and sit in that for the rest of your life, or you can take action. I want to ask you though, like for someone who is sitting right now listening to this, they may be overweight, they're always going to the cookie jar, they have no self-control, they have awareness around what's happening, but they just can't stop themselves. How do we get into them and get them to make the change? Because it's so important. As you said, as men, we need to be leaders, especially if you're a parent and you have young boys. They look up to you.
Of course. Imagine if your kids are 5 or 8 years old are obese. Like that's on the parents. Like, and to be honest, bro, I was overweight, and that's why I'm so passionate. My dad's overweight. My family are actually like borderline obese. Like I'm from that family, right? But I think sometimes I am very direct, but like you got to also realize that everything that's getting like marketed to us and everything that's kind of pushing towards your way, like all these McDonald's cookies and all that, like if your food's getting marketed to you, you need to like start to realize like, hang on a second, the food is not actually good for me. This food is actually just good for the company's profits because they're putting money into ads. And to get someone out of a position like, let's say someone, for instance, 120 kilos, they go to the cookie jar, they're eating Uber Eats. Number one, I think the biggest sense of accountability is environment. I think you need to surround yourself, even if it's very, very confronting, surround yourself with people who are winning in that area. So like it's pay to play, right? You can either pay a coach or pay, a gym membership, or pay a friend who's fit, ask them for advice, but you need to start spending time with people who are obviously winning. That's what I do with business. That's what I do with kind of everything. You start spending time with people who are winning, It's just a matter of time till you start winning. Number 2 is have an accountability system. Whether the accountability system is having like a coach once a week just to check in with, whether it's having a friend to go to the gym with, whether it's having a touch footy team, a soccer team, just an accountability system. Because when it comes to our mindset about getting fit and healthy, I would much rather kick my feet up and relax. Everyone would. But if you've got that accountability system, they're keeping you accountable. They're holding you to that higher standard. You don't want to let your team members down. And then number 3, I think, is like get clear on your why and get clear on your goals. Like if you want to live if you want to be confident, you want to be happy, and you want to kind of live a life that you're proud of, you need to think of like your why, and you need to I would even write it down on a post-it note and put it in the mirror and read it out every single day. Like my why is that I want to change the game for men's health. I want to show men that it's actually not hard to get healthy and fit. They can do it in 10 minutes a day, and they just need to be a little bit better when it comes to organization and eating better quality foods and just being more active. So if you get clear on your why, it could be, I don't want to be judged, I don't want to be overweight, all of these things, and get clear on it, and you see it, and you teach your subconscious mind this thing every single day, then over time, it just builds. And I think lastly is this is where people go wrong, is they just, back to what you were saying, they just go cold turkey. It's either this or that. So I'm into fitness, I'm into health, but that doesn't mean I don't eat burgers, or that doesn't mean I don't eat cookies, or that doesn't mean I don't drink or party a little bit. But what that does mean is I spend 80% of my time here or 90% of my time here and 10 there. People have an all or nothing mindset, an all or nothing approach. So it's either like, I'm going out, eating Mickey D's, eating cookies, ice cream, but I'll start Monday, which is my dad's mentality. Monday never comes around, or they do it and they go chicken, broccoli, fasted cardio, 6 days a week of training, and it's all too hard. So just start slow and build that momentum up, and it will happen. It's just a matter of time.
It's a lifestyle. And I think a big thing too is building, that relationship with food, with health and fitness. But all in all, it starts from building the trust with yourself. Because that's where the self-esteem, the confidence is going to come from to continue on that journey. Yeah. Right. I was having this conversation with Monty before around, self-esteem. A lot of people don't trust themselves, which is why they continue going down the dark path of going obese and not looking after themselves physically, mentally, spiritually. It's because they say they're going to wake up at a certain time. They never do it. Just like your dad, I'm going to start on Monday, never do it. And it's just a continual cycle. But if you can start to make those promises to yourself, stick to them. How good do you feel when you say, I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. and go train, and you go and do it?
100%.
How shit do you feel when you don't do it?
And let me ask you a question. Do you hate people that say they're going to do something and not do it?
Yeah, you see them as they're not reliable, right?
No way, bro. I hate people like that. I call them yes men. I can't stand it, right? So if you're breaking promises to yourself, how the fuck are you meant to level up? You can't, because whenever there's some kind of adversity or whenever things get hard and you're breaking promises to yourself, that's pushing your self-esteem lower. That's pushing your self-respect lower. That's pushing everything down. So like you said, small commitments, and that's where I step in and I help guys. Your life is just a result of all of the small habits and actions that you have taken in the past. Like the way that we're living right now is a product of our past self, and it gets us to our present self. So if you keep going down that trajectory, then obviously things are going to get worse, because you're treating yourself like shit, you're breaking promises, you're overeating, you're under exercising, all of these things. However, if you start to reverse it, don't reverse it 0 to 100, reverse it slowly. I'm going to go for 1 10-minute walk today. Tick it off. And you build that, instead of going down the graph, going down, you're starting to slowly flatline, and then you start to build back up. And that's, I think, the biggest thing is just small commitments every day or every week, and just tweak the commitments until you start moving that graph up rather than down.
All about momentum and the small steps. And a lot of young men are struggling mentally right now in the world, more so the Western world than anything. And the thing is, we want to achieve big goals, but we see these big goals and we're like, they're too big.
How the fuck do I get there?
Yeah. It's about reverse engineering them into small steps. And, someone who's struggling right now, they can't even get out of bed. The biggest thing for them will be to get out of bed and make their bed that day.
100%.
And it's not about comparing your journey or where you're at to someone else's.
That's a hard thing to do, though. Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially with social media.
It is. And you got to realize, too, that these people are putting up all of their highlights, right? They're just putting up their highlights. They're not putting up their pains, what they're dealing with every day, their frustrations, their scary things, their beliefs, all of these things that are holding them back. But that you've hit the nail on the head. Like, don't compare. You're in your own lane. But if you're better than you were last week, you're winning. And you just need to keep thinking that. If I'm 1% better than what I was one week ago, then I'm going to keep winning. But if you're not better, and this is where I think that males need to be better, and it's not me to judge and diss, because I've seen it firsthand. But what we need to do as men is we need to accept that we need to be better, and it's up to us to put in those disciplines and put in those things in the family household. And it doesn't mean going from eating takeaway and pizzas every Friday and all this shit to absolutely nothing. It just means, back to the balancing, just in moderation, slowly make better choices, because it's going to affect everyone.
Talking about, the highlight reels of social media, let's go beneath that. What have been some of your darkest points within your life?
Yep.
And how did you get through them?
It's a good question. So back in year 7, when I went to a private school, I used to get bullied by the guys who were like 2 years above me, and I used to fucking hate it. Hey, like, I used to go to school and I used to be self-conscious because I was like a chubby kid, and like I remember like doing these ones and like really, really being self-conscious about myself. And I used to get bullied and teased and kind of pushed around the lockers. And I used to wear these skinny jeans on Mufti Day, and they used to call me spray-on pants because they were so tight, and I was like a chubby kid. And like it really got to me, like it really like made me fucking angry and frustrated. And one day I stood up to myself, and I was getting kind of pushed around and teased, and I stood up to myself and I said, nah, fuck this. And I kind of like went at the guy, and he kind of backed off. And that was like a really big turning point for me. Like I knew that I didn't want to feel the way that I was feeling, and I knew that something had to change. And that was when I was quite young. And I started kind of, when I say researching, like reading about kind of fitness, and you see magazines and all that kind of stuff. So that's what started my journey. I never kind of pursued it, but that's what started it. I just didn't like the way that I kind of felt, and it really made me self-conscious. And that was a really big kind of pivotal moment in my life that I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Character building?
It was huge, huge.
Yeah, because people maybe listening to this and go, fuck, I've gone through way worse than that. It's just a bit of bullying.
Yep.
But people don't understand the power of words, man.
Yeah.
And in a way, yes, at the time you feel like, fuck, it's the end of the world. Like, why are these guys picking on me?
Yeah.
But you look back now, and it's probably a huge blessing, because you wouldn't be into health or fitness and to where you are now if you didn't go through that. So yes, everyone has different levels of adversity.
Yeah.
Not to compare anyone. We all go through our own shit, but it's what we learn from that and come out the other side.
Yeah.
Because you could have continued to go down the path of being that fat kid.
Yeah.
But you didn't. You didn't play victim. You turned your life around, and you wanted to research and learn how can I be better.
Yeah.
And it's made you the man that's sitting in front of us today. And I think it's awesome that we have these conversations, because, it just shows that anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be a victim of your upbringing.
You don't. And that's a big point, bro. Like you said, everyone has different, everyone's brought up a different way. Some, unfortunate, but some people's, parents die when they're young. And like, unfortunately you can't change the cards that you're dealt. But the thing that you can change is your life and how you actually go through that adversity, go through that challenge, and the person that you want to become. Because you can sit there and mope and be really sad about it, but you can also sit there and be like, you know what, I'm going to make this as motivation. And I think one of the biggest things for me and my direction that I want to go is like my dad, like always overweight and telling me this, and, had a kind of bit of a poor relationship with me as his son. Like when you're young, you look up to your dad, and all you want to do is spend time with him, right? And I get it. He was out there making money, and I get all that shit, but it's like, well, how can I then learn from that and be better so that I can, tell other people that this is what I'm on, this is the mission that I'm pushing towards. And like I said, it helps future generations, us becoming better.
The biggest thing that I've learned on this journey that I've been on the last 5 years is that sometimes you have to go do the work yourself
Yeah.
for example, your dad to see it and be like, fuck, if my son's doing this work, maybe I should do something about my life.
Yeah.
Has your dad seen that and been working on his health and fitness? Or
He goes through waves. Like,
Yeah.
he's funny. Like, he sees it as that 0 to 100 kind of thing. So I've got this system that I use with my guys. It's called the DENSE method. And one of my mentors, when he's still, I guess, he's my mentor, we keep in touch. He kind of created it. And it's just about 10 minutes of daily disciplines of just doing, let's just say, squats, push-ups, whatever it is, and accumulating that 10 minutes and building momentum, right? And I said, Dad, just fucking do the DENSE method and just do push-ups every night. Oh, that won't do anything. It's only 10 minutes. But it's like, the way I look at it is, people join a gym, they train once a month. So if you had, and let's call the $1 bill, $1 bill, 1 minute. So if you had $30 and you save that once a month, that's your 30-minute gym session, you've got $30. Whereas if you have $10 and you're saving that every single day, you're doing the push-ups, the DENSE method every single day, and you accumulate that every day for a month, you're now left with $240 compared to having 30. And that's what people need to understand is, it's not the 0 to 100. It's not how much you can do. It's about the consistency and the momentum that you can create, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you start to be a little bit more disciplined with your training and be a little bit more disciplined with, doing that 10 minutes, that will then manifest into making better choices with your diet. And then that will then manifest into saying no to going out drinking. And then that will then change into setting up boundaries because you don't want to get out and get on the piss every single week. Like everything affects everything. And I think that's where people go wrong. They just look at, I don't know, fucking CBum and they go, oh, I'm never going to get there. And they just give up. But it's like, no, you need to think of the journey rather than just the destination.
Yeah, it's the compound effect, right?
It is,
getting
bro.
1% better each and every day. And
it is.
over the course of 12 months to 5 years, like, you'll be surprised on how much you'll actually achieve and how much you'll grow.
Yeah.
So tell me, what exactly is the work that you're doing with helping to empower men?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, like, obviously it stemmed from a young age when I saw my dad and he had that mindset on health and fitness. And, I think that, like I was saying, that the men should be the one everyone looks up to, and they should have the disciplines, and they should be the one that sets the family environment when it comes to health, when it comes to everything like that. So I guess how I help people is showing them that there's an easier way to do things. Like, I'm all about less friction. So if you're just a guy who's working 9 to 5 and you're working your ass off and you've got 2 young kids, the last thing you want to be doing after a long day of work is driving to the gym, getting caught in traffic, getting changed, fucking going to the gym, waiting for machines, coming back, thinking to yourself, is it a good workout? And all of that. There's too much friction. So where I step in is like, cut the shit, cut the friction, do it at home, build the habit, build the discipline, show your kids, make it fun, start with push-ups, do chin-ups, whatever it is. That discipline, once you start getting a result, you're going to start getting more motivated. That discipline will then build. It's a snowball effect. It starts small, but it starts to build. And once it builds, then you join a gym, then you're fucking looking lean, then everyone's saying, what are you doing? And then that's what creates this person. So I guess where I step in, and it's like, just pull everyone back to reality. And the way I kind of talk to people, I'm going hard in the marketing stuff, and I talk to, business owners and that, similar to my dad. It's like, they go, oh, I'm on a 2-month holiday, I'll just start after. And it's like, all right, would you stop everything you're doing for work for 2 months? It's like, oh, no, I'd always be doing something. I'm like, well, that's my point. Just do something. You do something, you're going to keep the discipline and you're going to be able to keep moving forward.
Yeah, I can relate to that myself. I cancelled my gym membership because of the friction, right?
Yeah.
Working day job, got a little one.
Yeah.
Running my own business on the side too. It's just like, it gets too much for me to actually go out to the gym. So what I did is, the other half of my garage, I converted into a gym.
That's mad.
Got a little half rack weights, and I get in there, my daughter comes in, she's seeing what I'm doing.
So
she tries
good,
to do
bro.
the handstand push-ups herself, and she
That's
picks
mad.
up I got little baby weights for her and everything like that. And I enjoy that a lot more because, I'm connecting with her. She's seeing that. She's doing it herself. So I'm leading by example there.
Epic.
2, I can be in and out in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to train for hours on end. You can be out 20 minutes. You can just do pull-ups, body exercises, a bit of weights.
100%.
And it's about, for me, I'm not training for anything specific at the moment. So it's just about feeling good and looking good.
And being like, not breaking that promise, right? And it's good that you kind of touched on that. 20 minutes is literally all you need. Like, I tell the guys who are like 120 kilo plus, 10 minutes a day, they go, fuck off, that's bullshit. Like I get guys in my program for 12 weeks losing 15, 20 kilos in 12 weeks, 10 minutes a day. Because what I do is I just start small and I just build a discipline and I've got an accountability system, and that's how they get a result. So like you doing that is perfect, because half the time in the gym, we're fucking on the phone, we're scrolling, we're not actually training. And if you look back to like the golden era bodybuilders like Arnold and Mike Mensa and all that, they used to focus on intensity. So intensity refers to like how hard a given set was, or how hard, I guess, not how heavy, but how hard you're pushing in that given set. So you can manipulate intensity by, slowing volume down. You can manipulate intensity by shortening the rest. You can manipulate intensity by increasing the weight and making it really hard. But what they always used to say is intensity equals density. So if you did 20 minutes of fucking hard out gun-ho effort, you'd get better results than the guy who goes to the gym for an hour and 15 minutes and just half-asses it. So it's a good point that you brought up. Like 20 minutes is enough.
I'm curious because we're here in Bali.
Yep.
There's so many, I guess, fitness gurus and health coaches and all that kind of stuff. What makes you different, man? Like, what makes you the guy that people should listen to and should go to?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I kind of wanted to shift a little bit from, like, when I say I'm a health or fitness coach, I kind of wanted to shift from that title a little bit, because I don't think I'm like a fitness coach. Like, I'm into fitness, but I'm into so much more than fitness. Like, I'm into the self-development. I'm into like becoming better. I'm into the mindset. I'm into the health. I'm into the holistic way of looking at life. I'm into all of that stuff, right? I'm into the disciplines, becoming better, role model for your family, all of these things. So I guess what, makes me a little bit different is all these kind of fitness gurus and all that kind of stuff. They're just here to get a result. It's like, count your calories, do what I have required for you, get the result, take the before and after, market the fuck out of it, and then see you later on to the next. And that's all good, because they're still getting a good result. But for me, it's more about like changing dynamics. It's more about changing men as a whole and making us more disciplined, become better. And it's not just through training, it's through our choices with eating, it's through a whole different variety of things. And I just think that I'm here to just show men that it's not hard. And I'm here to show men that if you just focus on the right things, you don't need to count calories. You don't need to do these crazy diets. You don't need to do all these things. It's just about making better choices. And I feel like with my guys, I actually ingrain the lifestyle to them. I haven't missed a day in gym. Well, I won't say day, let's say a week. Apart from a deload, I haven't missed a week in a gym intentionally for 8 years, just because it's so ingrained in my lifestyle. So that's what I feel like I'm different, is I teach my guys that, life happens. There's going to be times where you're going to travel for 3 months, but you still got to do the dance. You still got to eat better. And that's how disciplined and consistency stays. It's not just about this 0 to 100 kind of effect.
And coming back to your journey of, the environment you were brought up in, a very, I guess, unhealthy environment.
Yeah.
And a lot of men that you may be coaching or follow you come from the same kind of environment themselves. And our relationship with food, with health and fitness, I believe all comes from our upbringing.
Of course, bro.
Yes, you can give them the routines and everything, what to do, but how do you, I guess, do that inner work with them to allow them to have that awareness around where it actually stems from and how they can work through that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think you got to look at everything from a holistic standpoint. You got to look at everything from a bit more of an open mindset. So all of these things that people don't really realize, like our food and McDonald's getting marketed to us, it's like, well, let's read between the lines. Like I go on crazy diets where I'll just eat red meat and eggs for like 2, 3, 4 weeks, right? And I'll just get crazy shredded. And so many people are like, fuck, how can you just eat red meat and eggs and your cholesterol's not high and you're not unhealthy and all these things? It's like, well, hang on a second. If I'm eating red meat and eggs and I look like this and I feel like this and I'm giving motivation and all these insights to how I'm feeling to people that I'm working with, like surely there's something that I'm doing is right. So I think the biggest step is to be open-minded to change and reading between the lines. Like this whole stigma about like cholesterol and saturated fat and all that stuff, which I don't really want to go into, but you know, cholesterol is the number one building block for our hormones. So if we don't have good cholesterol, we don't have testosterone, we don't have leveled cortisol, we don't have the ability to be men and attack and be motivated. So like we're getting told that we need to manage our cholesterol. It's like, well, hang on a second, we need cholesterol. So just being open-minded, I'm not saying that things are wrong and right. I don't want to be here and tell people that things are wrong and right. It's up to them to make their own decisions. But I just think being open-minded, be like, okay, well, if breakfast is the most important meal of the day and Kellogg's are pumping ads into cornflakes and Wheat Bix and all this kind of shit, and 90 or 80% of the population's overweight, is there not something in there that just doesn't make sense? But if you look at me and other kind of guys who are fit and they're eating, you know, steak and avocado and maybe some red meat, which I love red meat, and they're eating a lot of that and they look like the way they do, like you need to read between the lines. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice is like, don't just take something and run with it. It's make your own choices based on the information that you gather.
Yeah, for me, when it comes to my diet, like we obviously go off track. I'm here on holiday, so
yeah,
I mean,
tell me, bro. I'd love to hear.
A bit more dirtier than what I usually do, but
yeah,
hey,
I've been a bit bad since.
In a way, you only live once, right?
Of course.
But my diet is really like more whole foods.
Yeah, that's mad.
I kind of 80-20.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
And I think I do a lot of intermittent fasting.
Yeah, cool.
I feel so much more clarity. I can be more productive when I'm not eating the whole day. But then there's days where I just eat heaps of food. For me, it's balance, bro. Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's important to have that. It's to have a healthy relationship with food. Yeah. Not seeing it as negative, not going either side of the spectrum as we keep bringing up because it's so true.
100%. I think too, like we're mammals, right? We need to be in tune with our bodies and we need to have that instinct nature. And I think we've lost that with technology. I think we've lost the ability to be like, hang on a second, I don't feel right. Something doesn't feel right. My digestion doesn't feel right. My mindset doesn't feel right. I feel tired. I feel lethargic. My energy's not right. And it's like, well, you look at a dog, right? If a dog didn't want to do something, or if a dog was told to do something and it still didn't want to do something, it wouldn't fucking do it. If you've got a whole bowl of dinner and you give it to the dog and it's full, it's going to stop eating. And I think like this whole vibe around counting calories and weighing food and that, it kind of fucks us up a little bit mentally because it's like, you know, oh, is that too much? Is this too much? And we need to get back in tune with our, you know, natural kind of instincts. And, you know, whole foods is the best way to do that because, you know, whole foods have a lot of nutrients in them. So they contain a lot more vitamins and minerals and all these things that our body craves and needs. But not only that, our body will tell us when we have eaten enough. So our brain will send a signal to our stomach, our gut, to say, all right, you've eaten enough because it's whole foods. Whereas if you do that with, you know, highly processed palatable junk food, because it's so easy to digest and your jaw doesn't actually have to chew an apple, it's just chewing a bun that's made of nothing, we can eat so many calories and that signal doesn't tell our stomach quick enough that we need to stop eating. And that's why people are so overweight, because of the food choices that they're having is all shit quality food. They're eating it so fast, you could smash a fucking Big Mac in minutes, but smash a steak the same weight, it'd take you 10 minutes. So like going back to that philosophy, which I love, and that's what I teach my guys, is like single ingredient foods and whole foods. And it doesn't have to be boring. I make epic meals with my stuff and the guys I train make epic meals, but it's just going back to that kind of instinctual nature when it comes to food and what we're consuming.
I want to get your opinion on caffeine.
Yeah.
All right. It's a big part of a lot of people's lives. We're busy. We're always drinking caffeine and it affects, it doesn't make you feel as hungry, it dehydrates you,
it does.
All that stuff. What's your opinion on caffeine? Good or bad?
Caffeine's good. I think it can affect your adrenal glands. So what it can happen is when you have too much caffeine, it can affect like your ability to digest food and it pulls you out of, so we've got the parasympathetic and the sympathetic state, which is essentially in the nervous system. So you think of the sympathetic state is like, you heard of like rest and digest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, fight or flight. Yeah. So the tense mechanism is the sympathetic nervous system. So if you were getting chased by a bear, you'd be in the sympathetic because everything tightens up. Your digestive system shuts off, your calves tightens up, your heart rate increases, your blood pressure increases, and it gets you out of danger, which is good. However, you need to spend time in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest, which is, blood pressure's low, heart rate's low, you're being mindful. That's why meditation's good, because you can feel and hear things, and you're in tune with your senses. So caffeine is awesome. However, it does get us in that alert state. So drinking too much can affect recovery. It can affect, cortisol level. It can affect your adrenal glands and all of these things. I drink a fair bit myself. I probably need to tone it down a little bit. I'd say 2 to 3 coffees a day is like not doing any harm.
Yeah.
I have like long blacks, which I just had then. 2, if I'm really feeling it, I'll do 3. That was my 3rd today, but I normally do 2 long blacks, and it's pretty good.
Yeah. And what was I going to go? Sorry, you put me off. So we got 45 minutes? 50. Okay, cool. Where was I going to go with that? I hate when you lose your train.
Yeah.
Caffeine.
I think that as a whole, though, we do probably consume too much. Like, we're relying on it way too much. I think, like, if you have it for more like performance, like have it in the morning and then have it around performance, so like when you're doing a workout, it's perfect. But I know some of the agents that I work with, bro, they're drinking double piccolos, like 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock. It's like, fuck, man, that's too much.
I can notice the difference in me when I'm pumping caffeine.
Yeah.
Like, it brings up a lot of anxious thoughts in me. Like, I naturally kind of struggled with anxiety growing up, and then anxiety kind of brings that on a lot more. Caffeine brings that on a lot more for me. Right. So I got to be careful of how much I consume, and making sure I'm having a lot of water and everything like that. Yeah. Like, it's great when I need to smash out a bunch of work or do a bunch of podcasts like this.
Like, now I'm probably a bit energetic. Like, because I've had a double shot of caffeine. So yeah, it definitely has its productivity effects as well. Like, it can really enhance productivity, but you don't want to be relying on it and like just consuming it like it's going out of fashion. Yeah,
and I think another big component of what I want to touch on today is obviously we got the diet, we got the caffeine, sleep.
Yeah,
so important, bro. But my audience, the audience that we're speaking to, is usually business owners.
Oh yeah, cool.
They're out there achieving things, but they do care about their health and fitness. Obviously, I believe our health is our foundation, right? Yet sleep is usually pushed to the side because we've got to stay up late and get work done.
Yeah, for sure.
And I've got a Whoop, so it tracks all my sleep and everything like that. And this last week in Bali, my recovery has been pretty shit.
Yeah.
Been in the red. Not the best foods, caffeine.
Bit of grog maybe.
Yeah, alcohol, bit of grog, bit of alcohol. Yeah. At a wedding the other night.
Yeah.
What's your like kind of sleep protocol or thoughts on around sleep and how we can maximize that and still achieve what we want to achieve?
That's a great question, bro. I love talking about this shit. So sleep is a funny one because, like you said, like it's a double-edged sword. You want to try to get as much work as you can in a day, but I don't think people understand the actual effects that sleep have on absolutely everything in the body, such as balancing our hormones, such as digesting food, such as energy, such as absolutely everything. So as a staple, they say, 6 to 8 hours. I think you need to get 8 hours at least. Now, you can set up some healthy kind of boundaries around sleep. So what I do, I set like a lot of alarms on my phone, So like I get into like skill development. So I do like handstands and juggling and that, and I'll have an alarm at 5 o'clock that goes off and tells me to do it. And I will snooze it until it goes off. Another one I have is around sleep. So it'll be like get off technology, and I'll have that about 8 or 8:30. So what that means is just get off your blue light stuff, get off stuff that's going to stimulate the nervous system. It's going to stimulate the circadian rhythm, and basically it's tricking the brain into thinking that it's still sunrise because you've got sunset, sunrise, and we need to be in sync with the circadian rhythm. That's why that people work night shifts. It's so bad for your health because they're not in sync with that circadian rhythm. So you need to get off the blue light stuff, and if you can't because you do work late, which is fair enough, get those glasses. They look fucking ridiculous, but they will help with that because it blocks the blue light. And I think another thing what really helps me is I have a discipline around sleep. So I don't sleep with my phone by my side. I sleep with my phone on the other side of the room because I like to get up at 4:30 in the morning to get shit done. I'm a morning guy. But what I like to do is I like to get the phone away because I feel like once you're starting that scroll or once you're watching that YouTube or whatever it is, you're gone. And having a cool environment to sleep in. like having a really, really cool environment to sleep in with aircon, if you can, and just getting off and think of it as like a wind down. You know, you don't just get up in the morning and just go straight gun ho. You kind of have that little bit of charge up where you go to the toilet, you have a shower, you have a coffee, and you kind of slowly get into it. It's the same with your night routine. Like you need to kind of slowly wean off what you've been doing.
The big thing I've realized since using this Whoop is what you do during the day affects your recovery and your sleep, right? Because I can get 100% sleep 8 to 9 hours and still my recovery shit.
Yeah.
Because it goes off heart rate variability, all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then you look at the previous day, it's like, what did you do? Eat crappy food, bit of alcohol, didn't train, didn't do any meditation or breathwork or anything like all those things that are good for us. If you don't do them, it actually affects your sleep.
Yeah.
So yes, you may be sleeping 8 hours, but it may not be quality sleep.
Yeah.
And this breaks it down into like light sleep, REM sleep, like all those different levels.
Yeah.
And I look at it for this last week, and a lot of it's just been light sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm getting 8 hours, but not really.
Recovering.
Yeah, not recovering.
Yeah.
And it's very, very interesting when you actually track the data and you look at it and you make different tweaks, how much your daily activities affect your night and your recovery.
Yeah. It becomes like a game, right? Like I've got an Aura, which is very similar. And like I used to kind of have a couple of cocktails on a Saturday night and like whatever, you've kind of ended the week and I'm with the missus and we go out for a nice dinner. And now it's like, well, fuck, that's going to actually impact my recovery because you have alcohol near bedtime and it actually impacts the recovery. It impacts your REM sleep and your deep sleep as well. So yeah, like once you get it, it becomes a bit of a game and you're like, well, how can I be better? Have you ever done like a long fast and seen your heart rate variability?
No, I did a 48-hour fast before I got this Whoop, but I think I want to do one and test everything out.
Let me know when you do and I'll do it with you because I want to do a long fast soon as well.
Yeah.
But dude, the data, like your heart rate variability will go up, your resting heart rate will come down, your recovery is like ace.
Yeah,
it's insane. Yeah, because food obviously affects digestive system. If you're having food too close to bed, it affects with digestive system. So then you can't actually recover and get into that deep sleep.
I think I'm going to do one after this trip, after everything I've put my body through. So I think it'll be much needed for a bit of a detox.
Yeah.
I want to ask if that little chubby version of you was sitting right here, right now, right?
Yeah.
What would you say to him? Any piece of advice or what would you pass down to him?
That's a good question. Just I think not having that kind of victim mindset and not being like, poor me, my life shit, and having this like, why me attitude. I think that's what saved me. I think if I still had that, I wouldn't, like I said, I wouldn't be, if I didn't go through those things, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So I would just say, like, keep pushing through. You're going to face adversity. You're going to face haters. You're going to face people that are like, what the fuck's this guy on about? But if you're staying true to yourself and if you're inspiring and you're trying to help and you're dedicating, your life to bettering others, then who gives a fuck what they say? And just keep pushing forward in the direction that you want to go.
Nathan, we have a closing tradition on the podcast where the previous guest leaves a question for the next guest. So the question for you is, okay, if you had the one-time superpower of mental telepathy and you could pass on a message to all 8 billion people on this planet, what would that message be? One short, sharp message that everyone could understand.
Trust your intuition.
Yeah? Why is that?
Just got to trust what's within. Stop being distracted by what people are telling you. Go down this avenue, do this. Just trust your inner self and trust your intuition.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nathan, it's been an amazing chat. First time meeting you, first time connecting. And I think everything that we spoke about today is very important, especially in the society and the world that we live in right now. The big focus for me is around helping men be better men, such as yourself. And
epic, bro.
Health and fitness plays a massive part in that. Yeah. I said earlier, health is the foundation of all success. You can't build a successful business and be fulfilled and be happy if your health is not in check, because eventually it's going to catch up with you.
100%, bro. 100%.
So, man, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Bro.
That was good.